What is up, business people? How the hell are you? It is Thursday. It is 5 p.m. And that means we're here to talk some business and give you a little excuse to crack a cold one and start your weekend a day early. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is Booze and Biz. Cheers. So, very thankful to have you guys here on a Thursday. And while I do have deep respect for sobriety, for the next 90 minutes or so, 60 minutes or so, it is not condoned. So crack yourself a drink and let's get into the show. So tonight is a super special show because I've got an actual celebrity on with us tonight. He has 447,000 followers on Instagram. So if that's not proof, I don't know what else is. Okay, so he's one of the most well-known reality TV stars, has been doing The Challenge for years, and it's a show that I actually watch with my wife, and so it's, almost like a belabored point to say that he's an absolute legend on there. And then, by the way, oh yeah, he's really smart and a highly successful entrepreneur as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Wes Bergman.
Well. What is going on, everybody? I'm happy to be here.
Yes. So, Wes, tell everybody who you are.
Well, people know me traditionally in one of two ways, right? And so we'll start. It's almost like I've lived two different lives for a very long time. I've got like a Clark Kent and Superman-esque way for me to kind of go about my day. So my Superman, if you will, is I have been a television star for darn near 20 years. They told me a long time ago that to enjoy my 15 minutes, and here I am 20 years later enjoying my 15 minutes, if you will. I was originally on a show called The Real World, Austin, Texas. It was in 2005-ish, in that range. And then that led to these subsequent spin-off shows called, at the time, it was called The Real World versus Road Rules Challenge. And then it eventually got shortened to a show called The Challenge, where we jump out of helicopters, run marathons, do puzzles against each other, basically a 360-degree test of us as just humans. We vote each other off, form alliances, backstab each other, that whole nine. And I've been doing that for a long time. I've done roughly 20 seasons, if you count spinoffs of spinoffs and such. And, I've done a handful of other things in the entertainment industry as well. I've done stand-up. I've recently, yesterday, we announced that I'm going to be on a show called House of Villains on the E! channel, and a bunch of kind of other random things that are going on. Now, my Clark Kent, if you will, the thing that I do 95% of my actual time is I'm the CEO and founder of a company called BetaBlox. It's basically like it's a school for entrepreneurs, and we have different products and services and packages. So depending upon when in the process you are and what you need is kind of the package that matches up most closely. But it's everything from boot camps to masterminds to one-on-one coaching to software and web development services. So the idea is that if you are an entrepreneur and you need help, as all entrepreneurs do, we can come in and help with just about anything. And this is also how I know you, Nick, for the viewers at home, is through my business. And so I kind of, back in the day, I kind of used reality television to fund BetaBlox. It was my version of a day job. And nowadays, I continue to do reality television because it's like the most ridiculous hobby in the world, I think. Everyone's got, your own version of hobbies. Yours are drinking really, really bad beer. Yeah, that's embarrassing. I thought I taught you more, my friend, but I guess I've lost there, but I can't win them all. Other people have, they run triathlons, they, coach their kids' soccer teams or whatever. And I can and want to do eventually all of those things too. But my hobby is I leave my life to go occasionally to go film these like big televised games. And it's been a lot of fun. And that's how most people know me. It's almost like no matter how big my business gets, no matter how much money it earns, I will always be the guy on TV, and to a certain extent that's okay. There's a tiny bit of me that's bothered by that, but not much. I'm mostly just totally cool with it because I'm the one who keeps stepping into that arena. And it's just crazy. Like you'll say something like what your business stats are, and they'll be like, oh, okay. And then you'll say that you were on a television show, and all of a sudden you're like the coolest person ever. And it's like, man, I think everyone's priorities are a little messed up, but we're here on a business podcast. So, but you were also on my reality show for entrepreneurs. Yes. So in which direction you take this conversation, especially now that we're drinking, who knows?
So I do have my terrible watery beer. Ugh. It's just, it's nice, smooth, watery. It's easy. I can, facilitate a show while drinking plenty of these, and it is all good. But I also do come with the heavy stuff. So I also got my tequila right here. So this is my cocktail that I invented, that I need to name this cocktail, but it is tequila mixed with cherry glacier Gatorade, and it's the most heavenly cocktail of all time. It's like
interesting. Yeah. So you're hydrating while you're dehydrating.
Yeah. You got electrolytes and you got tequila.
I like that.
For whatever reason, tequila, like maybe this is for everybody, and maybe it's just me, I don't know. But tequila is not like I really don't get hungover on tequila. Like I have to drink like
what kind of tequila are you drinking?
So I'm drinking a gas station special. So Booze and Biz was historically I would do it for my house. And so I rebranded the show. I literally changed every single thing and relaunched. This is, I think, our 5th or 6th episode of the new format here. And so on the day that I needed that we were going to relaunch, when I had Jana on, I was like, fuck, I don't have any alcohol here. So I ran to the corner store and bought Luna Azul Blanco. It was very expensive, but I think that's because I got it from a gas station. It's not terrible. It's not
good.
Terrible.
Good tequila definitely will help with the hangovers. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. Okay, so pop quiz though. Do you remember the last time we hung out?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Would you like to describe it to the viewers here?
So I definitely. So funny story. So last week, we were on. I had Justin for Party Rental Knowledge on, and we were kind of talking about filming and videography and stuff. And randomly, a person I do not know, his name is Jake, jumped into the comments and was like, bro, I can do some stuff for you. I've got this degree and I'm a video editor. I'll edit some vlogs. And so so I was like, bro, that's amazing. So I actually sent him the Blox vlog. I just have not had time to edit it, and I'm not a very good editor, for the record. And so he just finished it today. And so I watched it back and I'm like, oh, that's right. We did shotgun beers and you absolutely destroyed me.
That was the last night. But like later on in the night, we were wasted and we were discussing who was the better adult soccer player, because we're both past our prime. And so we had just spent 4-ish days talking business, all like straight up. And then we chose to spend the last hour arguing over who was the best soccer player. And there's obviously no way while drunk at a bar at 2-ish o'clock in the morning to prove anything that we were saying. So we just kept getting louder and funnier. Now that's what I wish we had recorded.
Yes, I agree. That was good times. I was actually thinking about it while I was prepping for the show. I was like, we need to like meet up in Houston and like, just get 20 other dudes together so we could play some 11v11. I don't think I'll be able to walk for like 5 days after playing, even if we played 30 minutes, but it would be totally worth it.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you got for me?
Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk the Blox for sure. But I kind of want to go a little bit nostalgia here and talk about so I never watched The Real World really back in the day. So it wasn't really ever in my viewing pleasure. But for whatever reason, the challenge, I mean, I remember watching the challenge when it was Real World versus Road Rules. And if I watch an old episode of that, I could probably pick out names and like remember stuff. But then, I got busy in my old career and kind of did my thing. And then when I started dating my wife, one time I like walked into the kitchen or something and it was on and I was like, holy shit, is this Real World Road Rules challenge? She's like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's called The Challenge. And so for better or worse, I mean, we've watched quote unquote every season basically up until now. Like we still watch it. And so I think it's a super interesting show. And I remember telling you very early on in the original Blox session, I was like, my goal is to come here and win the Blox, right? I did not think I was going to learn nearly as much as I actually did. Like that was the ultimate takeaway. But I was like, I'm going to win the blocks, and then I'm going to prove to you that you can take me on the challenge. I want to go on the challenge. And you were very quickly kind of dashed that. You're like, cool, you need to go be on Big Brother first. Then we can maybe make that happen. But anyway, the challenge. So most of my employees are, in their early 20s. And I'm 39. So when I talk to them, there's, kind of lost in translation. And I try to describe the challenge to them. As a fan, right, I'm passionate, and like I'm smiling and I'm telling them all this cool shit about the show. But I think it would be great if you could kind of give a little bit of a background of what the hell the show is, why you were able to make your name on it, and then, just for anybody that's watching that's not seen the show.
Yeah. The challenge is definitely hard to describe, but only because it's been on for a long time. Like we're talking long time. Like they just finished a month and a half, 2-ish months ago, airing the 39th season. And then there's about 10 plus spinoffs on other channels. And then there's other stuff in other countries and all this stuff. So they're really on their like 50th season. And as you can imagine, a lot has changed over the years. So describing it is difficult because you have to almost explain the history of things. It is worth noting that it's a derivative of a show called The Real World and another show called The Road Rules. The Real World was the first reality show of all time. So they created the genre of filming people just living in a house. And so, that's where that all came from, because ultimately MTV wanted to buy a soap opera, but they didn't have the budget for a soap opera. So two people named Mary Ellis Budum and Jonathan Murray invented the concept of reality television, where it's like, oh, it's a lot more affordable if we just create our own soap opera where we don't have to pay the people very much, and they just like live in this house. And that was the impetus for The Real World, and it worked very well. And they did many seasons of it. And there was such a demand to watch alumni of The Real World give us just more content, because the country had fallen in love with those characters, that they invented this excuse to just film them drinking and partying and fighting more, which was called the Real World versus Road Rules Challenge. And they would be in the backyards of these mansions, like running around with eggs on spoons and stuff, right? Like it was really just an excuse to just get them back in a house. And you'd vote each other off, and ultimately there would be a winner. And they would split 11 ways, like a $75,000 prize, and it was like the biggest deal in the world to everybody back in the day. And then as that show proved to have legs, it got a larger and larger budget, and they just never really repeated any of the games. And so they just got more and more innovative. The budget got bigger, and eventually around the 12th-ish season, maybe 11th, they hired a showrunner, which is a synonym for like the boss in the world of television, executive producer. They hired a man who's ex-military, and he had a vision for taking this thing in a slightly different direction, where it was more of a sport, where all the stuff just got way harder, and they tested everyone's limits in a way bigger way, because eventually they had a lot of people to pull from, and there was a lot of really, really good competitors on. And so
round about what year was this?
That was around when I started. And so this was debatably the most important reason why about my longevity, because I would have gone in and did what everyone did back in the day, which is, you go in and you do one or two and your bucket list is checked off, and there's nothing else that you can get out of it, because the prize money wasn't enough. The payment to be there wasn't enough. And also it's not all that fulfilling to just go in and party constantly. Now, and it's fun, don't get me wrong, but like once you've done it a couple of times, you've done it enough times, because you can. So this man, though, had this vision of basically slowly but surely evolving the show into what is now just called The Challenge. And it is a 360-degree test of you as a human, meaning we show up on a random day, and we don't know what we're doing. We take a bus ride somewhere in some random country. I have not filmed a flagship version of the show in the United States ever. So we're talking it's Croatia or Argentina or Australia or wherever. And we'll show up to some random beautiful place, and we don't know if we're going to be solving some weird, funky puzzle. We don't know if we're going to be jumping off that cliff. We don't know if we're getting in a helicopter and jumping out of the helicopter into a lake and then swimming. We don't know if we're running a half a marathon. We don't know if we're eating something disgusting. We don't know if we're going to go and solve a puzzle on top of the tallest building in that country. I mean, all of these are examples of things that I've actually done. I've jumped out of an airplane without a parachute, and like the list goes on. I've done hundreds of things that are, on paper, you think that I'm just making them up, and people that don't know me really find me to be annoying because they're like, this guy has the ability to one-up me no matter what, or he's a complete and utter liar. And if it wasn't for the fact that this is syndicated on just about all over the place now, then and there's just a lot of proof. Well, now it's like this juggernaut of this thing that just has refused to die and has had this cult-like following forever. And I had the ability to really sink my teeth in at that crucial time because I was still young at the time. I was still underage. I was so young, which means I had come off soccer and swimming and track. And so I was still in very good shape and just naturally athletic. And so at the time when they amped up the athleticism, all of a sudden I was competing against people that didn't really know that the game was even being made harder. And so I came in and was just cleaning house for a while. And then slowly but surely, they just started to make casting decisions based on other people that were, quite frankly, like me. Now, they wouldn't say that, but it's like they were basically saying, okay, now we're looking to cast smart, athletic, good-looking people. And I am not, I'm like the ugliest person on the show. I know I'm not like ugly. I'm like average, but most of the people are really good looking and are very well-rounded for the most part. And we basically show up in these random countries and we play this multi-month long game where, we do all sorts of random things. And then there's a political element where you kind of vote in people. And then those people that are voted in have to battle against each other to see who stays in the game or not. So like this show is any game show on television now. Game show is not the right word. Any reality competition show that you see right now, it is all a derivative of this show that I am on. Any show that has an elimination is a derivative of the show that I'm on. Like basically between the Real World and the Challenge, 90+% of TV that is on these days is really just a derivative, which is like the nicest way of saying a copy with a tweak of what the Real World and the Challenge kind of is and invented. And this includes Survivor and Big Brother and all that kind of stuff are all derivatives of the show. Now, I want to like make it really clear because Sam Furman here, love you guy. I know exactly who that is. I'm definitely not modest. I'm not the inventor of this show. I'm just a contestant on this show. But yeah, I am not modest because television does not reward modesty. And so part of my shtick is I'm an uber douchebag throughout the entire time. It's part of my brand. I tone it down in real life, but on television, I get to be this free douchebag that is just with no filter. And so that is a history of the show and a synopsis at the same time. And I know it was probably more than you wanted, but there you go.
It was perfect. Way better than I could have done or ever have done. And so Paramount Plus is where you guys can watch that if you guys want to check it out. It's called The Challenge. It's great. So is it taboo or off the record here that we can talk about the Superman and the Clark Kent, the differing personalities, or is it a secret or no?
No, totally open.
Okay,
open.
So when I came to the Blox, I didn't expect to like meet the TV Wes, right? But I was very surprised how toned down it actually was, or the stark contrast between the two personalities. And so as we start going through the Blox, right, I watched some of the episodes and I was reviewing the slides the night before, getting excited for the classes. And then you'd go stand up there for 60 minutes or 120 minutes, however long it was, and just spit entrepreneurial like wisdom facts straight where like your pencil could turn on fire because I was taking so many notes and I was like, holy shit. Like I thought this was going to be like a fun TV show. No, this is going to be hard as fuck because I'm going to be because the amount of stuff that's getting stuffed into my brain mixed with a little bit of partying, mixed with I'm still running my businesses. It was very interesting for me to go through that and see the differences in you on TV and you actual real life?
Professionally speaking, what you just described is my favorite part of my job, like at all, which is teaching, right? Like I know one of the things that we harp on a lot is this is particularly important in your business, which is, SOPs and processes and playbooks and making it possible for your business to be able to run when you're not there. I'm going to have a hard time ever giving that part up because it really is the closest thing to a combination of both my worlds, because like it did take me 12-ish years and still evolving to make that curriculum, right? So I've poured everything I've got into it, the amount of studying and pulling from podcasts and books and then making up my own analogies and all this kind of stuff. But then I add the entertainer, Wes, is then who teaches it. And so the idea is that I want to be the best professor of entrepreneurship in the world. And I also want to be the most entertaining professor of entrepreneurship in the world. And I strive to do that. And so when I'm up there spitting that game, it is a lot of fun because I'm sitting in the crowd and watching mental orgasm one after another. And what's fun is it's like a lot of you guys are, some of you guys are really, really good students. And then you come here and you're like, oh, I missed school and I'm really turned on that I get to be in school again. And then some of you weren't very good students. And for the first time ever, you get to be a good student because for the first time ever, you actually care about what you're studying and you're being taught by someone who cares immensely. So if you weren't turned on by algebra and geography and political science and all that kind of stuff in high school, and your teachers sucked and were demotivated for all the reasons, now you've got like a kind of a second shot. And so, that's what, but we do a lot of things on the Blox. One of them is daily class that I teach. And it is an absolute turn on to watch everybody kind of taking in such advanced things that it's taken me over a decade to kind of build. But that's the foundation of every day.
Yeah, Kat said she was surprised how funny you were. I don't know that I was surprised about that, but as somebody who in my former corporate career, like I put on meetings 3-ish times a year for anywhere between 20 to 30 people that were all my directs, right? They all worked for me, but that kind of being on stage teaching thing, I'm with you. Like that was one of the very, very, very few things I missed from corporate world was those meetings where I get to go facilitate and teach and talk and everything. And so, though I've got, kind of trying to scratch my own itch, but now we do monthly meetings at the jump off. So I fluctuate anywhere between like 8 to 12 employees, kind of depending on what time of year it is, between my two businesses that are heavily employee, that have a lot of staff. And after leaving the Blox, I was just kind of like, I need more of that. And so I've then kind of worked that into my whole entire regiment, just because it's just so fucking great to sit in front of all the guys that want to be here, and they show up in their jump off shirt. It's amazing. And an important component, I guess you could say, of what I do or what my passion is. So watching you do it was awesome to see, because it was, how do I describe it? I guess it was just so like natural, like you're up there doing it for the right reasons, not up there doing it because you have to. And that kind of authenticity, just as somebody that was kind of watching it almost from two different perspectives, where I'd like, yes, I want to learn, maybe three perspectives. I want to learn, I wanted to win the fucking thing. And then also kind of watching the presentation, or almost like the stand-up comedy routine, it was very refreshing and kind of almost invigorating to kind of see that and know, all right, cool. I can kind of take this part of my life and infuse it into my business instead of miss it. Let me go selfishly create it and do these monthly meetings.
Yeah, and you should be doing that. I mean, the driver for the success in your particular business is going to be to infuse everything in your head, because the playbooks aren't going to be enough. Ultimately, it's humans that have to run your playbooks and your SOPs. And for you to then, in your own way, in your own personality, kind of mentor that next generation through the lens of your SOPs, like that's going to be the answer. And one of these days, you're going to have 10 nicks spread out that are running around building your empire for you while simultaneously getting paid. And it's an everybody wins situation. Your clients, them, and you, and me, because I'll get to brag about your success and take a tiny percentage of credit.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's I kind of tend to go like I'm a little bit of a contrarian in a lot of ways, but one of the main ways is when people start piling on about how it's hard to hire or kids these days don't want to work, all the fucking cliches. Like
Yeah.
I literally kind of just sit there and twiddle my thumbs and like wait for the person to kind of get the rant out. They're like, you don't have these problems?
Yeah.
I don't have these problems, but the reason is because where SOPs and all those things are so important. I know that the culture that I can bring to the table with my message and my voice and this, if I can communicate that passion as many times as humanly possible, like just find ways to introduce that over and over and over and over and over, then and then I do a weird thing too where I bring the guys like inside, like when we're in here, like I've got a big TV right here, I screen share up there and I go, okay, here's how much we did last week, here's how we're looking for increase. And I really bring them inside the business because I want them to see everything that's happening. All the fucking hard work that I do behind the scenes gives them more opportunities to go meet clients. The hard work they do with the clients turns into Google reviews, which turns into more client. And it turns into this beautiful symphony almost of culture. And it drives the business in such a way where I don't even have to recruit anymore. My guys that work for me do the fucking recruiting because they go talk to their friends at parties or wherever the hell they're doing. And they're bringing in, and they're just attracted to me versus me. Woe is me. I can't hire anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Better hiring, better mentorship, better training, better quality assurance. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it is harder than it used to be, but it's definitely possible. You just have to do more work. And quite frankly, but I completely agree with you. You're not going to hear me saying, woe is me, I can't find talent these days, because that is not when you're a great entrepreneur and you're a great leader, the great talent will come to you like a moth does to the flame, and then you will keep them and retain them by respecting them like the adults that they are, and having empathy for what they're trying to get out of the situation, and being a darn good leader. Never, I hate the word boss. I use it occasionally, but it's you don't get to act like a boss used to in the 80s. Like, this isn't a Dilbert cartoon. That is gone. There was nothing effective about it then, and it's not going to fly now. And so, but yeah, I look at it much more as like a mentorship opportunity than it is an employment opportunity.
Yeah. Like the way I kind of tell people to do it is I'm like, hey, you take your passion for what you're doing or what you're building or what your vision is, and instead of it just living inside of your brain, I just speak it out into the world, because I really, really think that the kids nowadays that are coming up are super interested in entrepreneurship to some degree, right? Almost everybody wants to be an entrepreneur or a YouTuber. So when you get to go bring them into the building process and almost lean on them to get them to do the things they need to do to grow the business, and then you make it our business, they are part of the entrepreneurial process. And it almost kind of scratches that itch to where they get to go tell their parents, that crazy stories about SEO or whatever the fuck we're working on. Like, it doesn't matter, like at the time, but they're so vested in it because you tell them, let me have you come into this and you help me build it, is such a more powerful thing than the old school. Yeah. The 1980s, like, do what I say when I say to do it, because I'm the boss. And when we do, we're going to win. They're just not motivated by that. You've got to bring them in and help them, and they can help you build.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. 100%.
Cool. All right. So I'm going to pivot to the blocks, but before we do, I got to give a big shout out. I got to pick my one. I'm going to pick the white one. So big shout out to Kevin. Sent me some of this right here. Remember this?
Of course.
This is called Popcandy. So I don't actually know how to describe this. It's basically a vodka seltzer, except for, and this is not going to play well on video here, it's not carbonated. There's no carbonation.
So
It's
now
like
you're
a
drinking
melted snow
3
cone.
different types of liquor.
That's right. That's how we do around here. We got beer, and tequila, we got vodka. It's great.
So I can attest, I have drank every single thing that you're holding there, and it is delicious.
It's wildly delicious. It's made with coconut water, and then Kevin, shout out to Kevin because he did all the branding on this. I know it's probably not going to be visible, but like it's like a matte can, and then the letters are raised. It's badass. If you guys want to get some of this, I've got this queued up. It's over here.
Also, much like your other handmade drink, it hydrates while dehydrating,
Yes.
and that's just mind-blowingly genius. So
yeah, I believe the URL is drinkpopcandy.com. So it's available in Michigan, and then there was a random 2 other random websites where I saw that you could buy it, and I believe they'll ship it to you. I don't know, but if you're into like sweeter flavored drinks, and these I remember Kevin saying that they were going to tone down the sweetness, and it tastes like they've toned down the sweetness. This is the first one I've drank since we were on the Blox, but it's very refreshing. So shout out to Popcandy, shout out to Kevin.
What's up, Kevin?
All right, so let's talk the Blox. So I think it would be probably more value if you kind of explained what the hell it is and what the mission behind it is, and what it can do for people. I think I've probably had 4 or 5 different people reach out to me that, like, one of them I did know through the internet. The other 4 I didn't even know. And I took a call with them and explained to them kind of what it is, what I got out of it. And I absolutely like was annoyingly a pusher for them to go. But yeah, so explain what the Blox is.
The Blox is a reality competition show about a game that was a gamified boot camp where we teach entrepreneurship. So in other words, we have a bunch of people that fly into one spot. They go through these series of classes and consults and group workshops and all the stuff that takes place throughout that week. All of those things that I just mentioned are tested in various ways, in ways which you can earn points and you kind of like rise up the leaderboard. We're gamifying an entrepreneurially educational week. And then the whole thing is turned into a documentary that we publish to Facebook, our mobile app, our website, and to Prime Video. And so the idea is that we're trying to, in multiple ways. One, I care very, very, very much so. Even, I mean, my team is almost annoyed by every time I say this, but I care about the experience of the people that are there more than I do the viewers, right? But then very quickly after that, I care about the viewers' access to inclusive entrepreneurial education. Meaning, for how I developed this curriculum was I had like one of the most cutthroat interview processes in the country to get into my private incubator accelerator for a decade. And it just felt so that I had this thing that I knew was fantastic. It's just very few people got the opportunity to do it because they couldn't afford it, or I didn't want them, or I used to, and still in various ways, charge equity ownership in their businesses. And so I'd have to be very, very selective about who we let in. So I'd teach these classes that you just complimented, but it'd be to like 10 people at a time. And then I would literally drive 4 or 5 hours to the next state over where my other office is, and then teach the same class to another set of people. I mean, it was ridiculous. I learned a lot, and but the point is there was all these people, hundreds a month, that I was denying access to this. And it's just like, how am I supposed to leave my entrepreneurial dent on the world if one of my greatest inventions is being, like pay-per-view behind closed doors? And so then you look at how bad entrepreneurship education is across the country and how misleadingly bad it is. It'd be one thing if like you couldn't find access to anything, at which point you would go hunt out the good stuff. But it's worse than that. There's so much crap in everyone's city, including mine, that when you go seek out help, you end up in a club, a seminar, a shitty incubator, and it all just sucks, and it's misleading, and it makes us as entrepreneurs worse. And so much money is spent on creating these fluffy BS programs to where it's like, I wanted to have your guys' experience that, albeit is obviously better than the viewers, but I want the viewers to, for free, be able to watch the show, or close to free. On Amazon, it costs a couple of dollars, but we make it as inexpensive as possible. But it's free on our website and the app and all this other stuff to be able to watch this thing and to learn the same types of stuff that our entrepreneurs are learning in the classes. And at the very least, you should be able to watch that and know what types of mentors or programs to look out for in your city. What we also just suggest and show lots of books and podcasts that are really good to help kind of curate what the good stuff is. Because not everything is crap. It's just most of it is crap that is out there. And so I want the barriers to high quality stuff to just be taken down. Like I kind of consider ourselves like my flagship program at the Ivy League School of Entrepreneurship. And I want there to be a free, inclusive, open version of that, open source, if you will, that's available to everyone in the world, as long as the hardest part is just finding out about it and putting the time aside to watch it.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that I did not anticipate coming into the Blox or even kind of coming out of the Blox, even though I was in it, was the insane fanatical community of people. So my favorite thing, so I'm and this kind of rubs people the wrong way when I say this, but it's the honest to God truth. I am kind of introverted. Like I'm definitely not an extrovert, despite the fact that I get on a camera and talk, right? I know that's misleading. So my normal mode, so to speak, is if I go to a conference or I go to meetings, is I basically kind of click up with 3 people, 4 people, and eat lunch with them every day, do everything with them the whole entire time. What was interesting to me about the Blox is I would get over to the grid and I would seek out to go sit down next to somebody I hadn't talked to yet, which is so not my norm, and it was not something I challenged myself to do. And it even got to a point, no offense to anybody out there, but even got to a point where, like, if I sat down, like, at a table alone, and then the people I'd already talked to came over and started talking to me again, I'm like, damn it, dude, like, you're taking up a seat where, like, I could sit down and talk to somebody that I could add value to, or could add value to me that I haven't met yet. It was wild that I had that experience. And then you come out and it's just like, I'm not in the Blox Facebook group, posting a ton or interacting a ton, but like, if I need like this little bit of information about something I don't know, I go post in the BetaBlox core group, and it's just like a flood of great advice, experts that want to get on the phone with me. And it's almost like, this kind of sounds cheesy, but it's like a beautiful community of all of the Bloxers, where we all have our own interests in mind, but we all want to help the other one. So I have no idea if that was accidental or if that was planned.
So for 10 years, I tried to build versions of that. Right? Like, I mean, that one of the most important things that I thought I was providing when I first launched was free office space. So I built a co-working facility for all the people that we invested in. Everyone got their own office, and there was this communal stuff, and it was all these like cool colors, and it was designed, and no one would show up at the same time, or they work from home, and I could never build up a critical mass, like, ever. And they would walk away and they'd be happy with all this stuff. They'd be like, oh my God, this coach changed my life. But they would say that to me privately, or, oh my God, that class was like I'd never heard it described that way, but they'd say it privately. And I could never, the community aspect of things, I could never crack that with the numbers, because I would only be able to invest in 10 companies per quarter, which is a lot, right? Like, that makes me one of the most active investors on the freaking planet. Right. And yet, that is not enough people. And they'd all come in at the same time for classes or whatever, but then they'd leave. And so the Blox was like this weird brainchild of an idea that I tested during COVID, because my normal company had to be shut down and a lot of my TV pursuits were shut down. And so I got to test this weird idea, because we all got to test weird ideas over COVID. And what happened was I finally accidentally broke the critical mass situation, where everyone that let's say that I invested in Kansas City, that would come in for a class, and then immediately as soon as the class leaves, you get back in your car and you got to go back to your life. You got to go back to your kid. You got to go back to, your whatever your other commitments are, or you come from work or whatever. And it's a random Tuesday night. And like, yes, I infuse value for an hour or two. But here you're kind of imprisoned in the Blox community.
Yes.
You don't get to leave. In fact, people that live in the cities that we film are not allowed. I mean, they're humans. It's not actual prison, but you have to. We want you and highly encourage you, and will not let you on the show if you don't stay in the hotel and do the thing. And now the numbers are really high and kind of maxed out. So now it's like the limit of where we'll be. But this last season we had 100 people that are on it, and if you count partners and employees, there's like 140-ish humans, 100 startups that are there. They're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. They're learning with each other all day. There's not a minute, unless you go back to your room to recharge. Everywhere you look is the critical mass has been broken, and we've gotten there. And then now this private Facebook group that we've got, amongst other kind of tools to keep each other connected, is just filled with a bunch of happy alumni of the Blox. And so digitally, we've got this critical mass. And it's funny, like, just, when I talk to, because there are alumni of BetaBlox that went through 10 years ago that are like, what the hell have you been doing the last couple of years? Because they're so confused. And it's like, why is everyone so energetic about all this? And it's really hard to explain to anyone, because the Blox is very different than BetaBlox. And it's all meant to be in like kind of our same world or whatever. But yeah, it's a really cool community, and it's bordering on cult-ish at this point. And so
yeah, like it's one of those things where if it keeps growing, it could be labeled a cult. I've been through a leadership thing. I don't want to go into it, but it changed my life. And then you go online and search it up, and everything in there it's about a cult. It's a cult. It's a cult. I'm like, it's not a cult. Like, they just tell us to call our friends. Like, it's not that big of a deal. So, but yeah,
there needs to be a new word for like a good cult. Like,
yes.
I don't know because cults have such negative connotations, but we're not doing anything. We're not making anyone drink Kool-Aid. We're not making anyone leave their spouses or whatever. It's just like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a really, really, really well-run entrepreneurial boot camp that has these other perks. But then we go back home and hopefully, like, we're just more positive people about everything. And it's just the well-runnedness, it changes their lives. And people are just so shocked that we can change your life in a week. Now people are getting all these Blox tattoos, and at first I loved it, and now I hate it because it scares me. But now I'm just like, I can't stop it. I had a young woman, love her to death, but I told her not to get a tattoo, and she wrote me last night. I showed my wife, and my wife had to do a face palm. The thing said, "Wes, you can't tell me what to do. I'm an adult. You changed my life." And then it was pictures of the tattoo that she had just gotten of the Blox stuff on her back, and I'm like, okay, LOL, enjoy yourself. That's flattering. I mean, I can't stop it now. If I tried, and it's like, now our employees all have it all tattooed all over them, which is a huge responsibility. And they're hiding it from me, but their sleeves will come up, and I'll be like, "What is that? Show me your arm." And they'll pull it up, and it's like our logo. And it's like, oh my God, I told you, especially the employees, like, what are you, I mean, and it's cool. But it's also a really large, it's a really serious responsibility that I take very seriously.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So I have, I think there's three other people that have messaged me that have this same tattoo. Like, this is my little motto. And I said it in, I was shooting a YouTube video, like, in my old office, which was at my house. And I just kind of started mentioning, like, this changed my life. I think I might tattoo. I said, I'm going to tattoo it over here. And then my tattoo artist was like, no, it needs to go over here. And then now I've had 3 different people send me pictures. They got the same Just Go tattoo. And it's just like, it's one of those things where, like, holy shit. Like, something I said touched your life to such a degree that you put it on your body forever. And like, right, I'm a tattoo collector, so like I got some weird shit, but it's just kind of, it's heavy, dude.
That's a great mantra, by the way.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Changed my life.
So,
all right, if you guys have questions for Wes, put them in the comments. We can start answering some questions. And then while you guys do that, I'm going to ask, this is a question of curiosity, or almost maybe even selfish. I want to know, how come the Blox is not on YouTube?
So there's a couple of ways to answer that, because that was one of the original strategies. And then we got kicked off YouTube within the first like 30 minutes of being on YouTube. Like, it was crazy. I still to this day don't exactly know why. And my guess is that we published the whole first season and all the behind the scenes videos simultaneously. And they each had really, where we spent weeks writing different captions and all this, but they all linked back to our website. I think that because of the sheer amount, it came off as if we had just done spam, which it was the opposite. We had actually just gave them a free show that over time was going to get a ton of views.
Right.
But because it just out of nowhere, because all the whole season, which isn't all that much, but it's at the time we were doing shorter episodes because we were designed for YouTube. But then we had all the consultations from all the pods. We also dropped simultaneously. And I think that it mimicked looking like spammers. And so we got kicked off. And there's no customer service at YouTube.
No.
Like I try. And so but thankfully I was torn. Do we go with this like Facebook series tool or do we go with YouTube? And I was back and forth for like a year. And so when YouTube forced our hand, we were able to, and thank God we've got a good tech team, in about 12 hours, we switched the entire app. We switched everything over to a way to where we would invest really heavily in Facebook. And ultimately, I'm really glad that we did, because Facebook has been kind to us, to say the least. And so ultimately, I don't know, like it was fate, but we're on the right spot.
Yeah. Because when I think I was still going through casting when I was talking to Cassie, but I remember looking for it on YouTube and like it doesn't exist. And then you have to go find it on Facebook Watch, which shout out or negative shout out to Facebook Watch. Like, why is it so hard to go find things on Facebook Watch? Like, you guys have more videos than anybody but YouTube. It should be easier, but it is what it is. So
and now, you've also got the app where you can watch it, or it's on our website and on Prime Video and all this kind of stuff. So now it's kind of like you kind of pick the thing where you want to watch it, right? And so there's just a lot more options now. But that's the long story for YouTube. It was just mind-boggling how that happened, and it was such like a missed shot on their end, because I mean there are people right now that want to buy the thing from me for tons of money, and I was giving it away to them. And it's crazy. Granted, they have to scale and they have to be big and all this kind of stuff, but it was ridiculous what happened. And it happened like we're talking like this. We launched the day before the Super Bowl, and I'll never forget that, because I didn't get to watch the Super Bowl that year because we had to fix this thing quickly, because we had just launched the show and it was kicked off the internet immediately. I've been gaslit by YouTube.
All right, here we go. Let's jump into some questions. All right, so this one's from Justin from Party Around Knowledge. He said, what's the difference between SOP and playbook in your mind, Wes?
I don't think that there's much of a difference. I think that SOP is a little bit more corporate version of saying it, and playbook is a little bit more kind of startup-y, entrepreneurial. I also like the connotation of a playbook is a little bit more like in football. You see diagrams and arrows and X's and O's and that kind of thing. And I think that that's a good, friendly reminder that in an SOP, no matter what an SOP, a set of processes, a playbook, whatever you want to call it, that we don't always just want 12-point font Word documents and checklists. Like, we want as many diagrams and flowcharts and videos and pictures as possible to kind of break it up, because we as humans aren't going to want to just go look at a binder that's this thick full of, whether it's metaphorical or not, that's this thick with just words in it. And so playbook is this idea of like, show them, don't just tell them. And so like I personally adhere to the word playbook a lot more, but when we're describing it, I try and use both words in the same sentence, just so that way, regardless of which school of thought you're in, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so I got the idea from Luke, which shout out to Luke, and he's also actually going to be next week's Booze and Biz guest, so I'm super excited for that. But he's got it on Google Drive or Google Docs or wherever. Yeah. And you've got the little bit of what you're supposed to do, and then he's got a video, and then he's got some sort of kind of like post test, like somebody's got to sign you off to make sure that you learned the thing in the playbook. And then basically the way he was describing it, as it builds out, it slowly and becomes everything that needs to be done. And then it's just always kind of building and evolving. So that's kind of where my brain is. I haven't started it yet. I had a long conversation with Omar about it yesterday, but it's not happened yet, but it will happen soon. All right. So next question is from our homegirl, Kat. What up, Kat? She said, what's your biggest focus right now within growing the business?
Everything is growing so fast right now that it's really just a matter of keeping the train on the tracks at this moment. You know, like I don't have to innovate at all in order for it to grow. And like, this is the time to stay. And so I right now am focusing on the basics, right? Like I'm getting back to basics. I'm doing the simple stuff well, because all I've got to do is just keep the train on the tracks. Like if I was plateaued, I'd be innovating. I'd be trying new things. I'd be shaking the trees. But really, everything is growing so fast at a level that we can barely keep up with, but keep up with nonetheless. Like, why change anything? And so I think that it's a lot of investing in the team, mentoring the team, make sure that make sure that the squad is as good as I am at whatever they need to be good at. But yeah, that's where it's at. So sticking with the basics.
And that you're talking about growing BetaBlox, the actual
all of it is just much so on fire and in a good way. And yeah, I guess just I'm at a very boring stage of business. Like I'm so beyond like the startup phase, because there's so much that has been proven in all the departments that the startup phase is done. The Sherlock Holmesing of what is the fit, what is the price, what is the features, all that kind of stuff. Like what is it is over. Like we've got it, we've nailed it. Now we're in this boring phase of implementing it at scale to just more and more people. And then as more and more people, stuff breaks, and then fixing it, and then more and more stuff, and then stuff breaks. So this is in some ways it's really boring, but it's also, it's an interesting culture change, because everyone that has been with us for a long time has been so used to us constantly trying new things and trying to innovate on all this stuff. And it's like, new culture, guys, stop innovating, stop attempting to improve, stop getting creative. We need to put that creativity away for just a little bit. And I'm not saying forever. I'm just saying, look at the graphs. Like it's up and to the left. We have fought our asses off to get up and to the left. It could not be growing any faster. Why? Like, don't touch it. Like, it's some of them, it's almost like they're in really healthy relationships for the first time in their life, and they go and they ruin that healthy relationship by creating a fight for no reason. That's
right,
almost
trying to break it.
Like. That's almost what it feels like with some team members. And it's like, no, like this is what a healthy relationship is supposed to feel like. And guess what? You get to enjoy it. And so
Kat's talking shit in Spanish, so I had to put that on.
Yeah, she says boring but important, and she's
okay.
Yeah,
shots fired.
I'm bilingual. She thinks she's bilingual. So
oh, love it. Okay. Justin asked, licensing versus franchising from the selling standpoint, pros and cons for each.
Like he wants to grow and he wants to decide whether or not he wants to license or franchise. Right? Is that who that I'm picking up on?
Yes, yeah, I would think so. Yes.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a really good question. Or quite frankly, I err on the licensing side of things. There's more.
You and I had this extensive conversation at the brewery.
There is more. All good conversations happen at the brewery.
Yes. Cannot. Yes.
That's cool brewery. But I feel like there is more freedom with licensing, and thus more power in the operator's hands. And with the franchise model, and obviously there's a lot of really successful versions of that. It's just so many people are taught that's the next step. You build one and then you franchise. And it's almost like, okay, before you get sold on that word, can we just look at the 3 or 4 other ways to grow? And I'm not telling you to like turn into a lifestyle business that doesn't grow. I want to grow. I just don't want everyone. It's almost like we as a society are only taught that there's one way to grow a kind of quote unquote brick and mortar business and it's franchising, and that's just not the case. And licensing is a really healthy, interesting way of doing it that keeps a lot more power in your hands and has a lot more legal freedom than franchising does.
Yeah, for me, it was a selfish thing where it's like, and this is no disrespect to anybody, but for me, it's like, do I want to work with entrepreneurs that want a little bit of a head start, or do I want to work with a franchisee that wants the whole fucking thing, that wants to show up and do the work? And for me, I want to work with more entrepreneurial, less operational, I guess you would say. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so it kind of became a no-brainer there for me. So, all right, cool. So, do you want to plug? House of Villains? Do you want to do? What do you want to? What do you want
I
to do?
mean,
You
this
got
whole
an
thing has
audience
been
here.
a nice little plug for all of the above. And so I want to take a second to thank you for your time and for your platform here. And it was enjoyable catching up in this way. I would say the best way for people to keep up with me is to just follow me on Instagram at Weston Bergman. I put all my stuff in there. If you guys are interested in what we're talking about, go watch the Blox, apply to be on the Blox. We would love to have you there. If you're an entrepreneur and you're not strongly considering being on it, you're really doing yourself an injustice. And,
Yep.
I would love for you to come into our world. And at the very least, like if you can't make the time, I mean, a week-long commitment is serious. Just go watch the show. I don't make money from you watching the show, but like I did it to go enjoy the show. It is, if you're not an entrepreneur, it's going to be the most boring show you've ever watched.
Yes.
But if you are an entrepreneur, it's going to be the most exciting textbook you ever read. And so that's kind of like a little bit of where we fall into the whole thing of like, it is hard. Like you have to make a decision. Is this education or is this entertainment? And I have made the decision. It's education with just enough entertainment to make it more digestible than anyone else has ever made it before.
Yeah. I think a good thing to say is if you go watch the show, you kind of get like maybe a 40%, maybe a 30%, because the emotional component isn't there. And then obviously you get Wes's full lesson, but then you don't have to go write a fucking pitch and, time crunch and all that. So you get a small percentage of what it's like to be on the blocks. But as you watch Wes's lesson, you will see, oh, this is what I can get out of it. And then obviously in person, it's just much, 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 much more powerful. A lot of people said, best, like Sam said, one of the best investments I've made in my business life. And I can attest to that. I mean, I went in, a pretty dangerous entrepreneur, but a little bit, I don't want to say misled, but like a newish entrepreneur, been in it for 4 years and self-taught, and came out just crushing it. And then went to the grad school, and now I'm in BetaBlox. So, I mean, I've done the full curriculum and can't say enough about it. So.
Yeah, no, you are in fact crushing it. You are a big time leader of our organization, and I appreciate everything that you're doing. And I am your biggest fan. And again, I want to take a second to thank you for all this, and to all the Bloxers that have watched. I miss y'all. Honestly, now this makes me feel guilty because we should do versions of more of this more often. So Nick, thank you for giving us yet again another thing to do to continue to invest in our community.
Yes.
But I got to go. I'm going to go pick up my daughter from daycare right now. And are you going to sit there and spit game for another half hour?
I mean, I got 3 drinks to drink, so I think so.
Spit some game in my honor. I'm out. Bye.
Thank you, Wes. All right, that was fucking awesome. Wes is somebody who I looked up to for a long time, watching the challenge. So you watch the challenge, and everybody plays the game a little bit differently. And the version of the game that he played was very enjoyable to watch and respectful to kind of, almost be a part of. Like that's probably the best way to say that. So I'll leave it at that. So then when I was casting for the Blox, like, I didn't know if he was going to be there. I didn't know if he was fucking smart. I didn't know if I was getting scammed, whatever, but I really wanted to be on fucking TV. So then when I get there, I land, I get picked up from the airport by one of his employees, and like they're talking about Wes does it. I'm like, okay, this seems pretty legit. And then get to the hotel, kind of get settled, and then had to go do my one-on-one with Wes. And it was kind of the evening. It might have been 3 o'clock, might have been 5 o'clock PM. I don't remember. But I get in there, and it's so obvious because I've done a similar thing that he was doing in corporate world. And so I get into the room, right, kind of ready to just like ask some questions, whatever. And he's just like, I was like, man, you look like you've had a lot of conversations. He said, you're numbered 86 today, so let's get this going. And I was like, holy shit, like this guy's in here grinding. I know what it's like to do those one-on-one consultations, you know, in depth in business with people at a much smaller scale than he was doing. And I was like, holy shit, he's actually going to do this. Like he's actually here. He's actually this invested. And then going through the curriculum or I guess the Blox original was, like what, there's all the words are cliche, right? Life-changing, transformative, blah, 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 whatever. I don't fucking know, but it was super awesome. So, want to give another shout out to Popcandy because Kevin sent me these and that's fucking awesome. Thank you, Kevin. I don't know if you guys want to talk about anything. If you guys have anything on your minds that you want to ask me, because obviously Wes is gone. Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Kat. It went very well. It went very well. That was the first famous person I've ever had on the show, like actual, like in real world famous, right? Wes emailed me that he wanted to blast it out on his socials. And so he posted on his stories that he's going to be on my podcast with the branding picture that I sent him or the hype picture that I sent him. And I saw it come through his stories. I'm like, that is weird. If you would have told me that's going to happen, 1 year ago today, that I would have a picture of myself on Wes's stories, that would be wild. That would be wild. I'll take a couple minutes here to kind of maybe answer some Blox questions. If you guys have questions about the actual Blox curriculum and kind of what it does, and then I'll tell my story as well. So I went through the Blox, the OG, the original product. I was season 7. So my season was pretty damn good. Pretty, I guess you could say, optimized by that time, right? Wes and his team had worked out the kinks. I didn't go there, however, to learn anything. I did not go there to learn anything. I went there to win. I went there to win the fucking show. I got there and realized I had prepped for the show incorrectly. So when I say that, I'm going to kind of give a little bit of a hint, a little bit of a tip for you to go. So if you want to go to the Blox, you need to have a pitch, like a legit 60 to 90 second pitch of who you are, what you do, and why it's important. I did not have that. So I literally was like writing that and editing that on the fly. I don't know if that's what caused me to not win, AKA I believe I came in second place 4 out of 5 days. And then one of the days I bombed, but like I didn't do very good. But I know for a fact I came in second place in my pod 3 times. I believe the last day, Farhan said I came in second place. Amanda smoked me. She got up there and did her pitch, and I was like, fuck, I'm definitely second place is the best I can do. But anyways, I went there to win the show. I wanted to win the show because that's who I am and I'm competitive. And then really quickly, the first couple of days I was kind of hard on myself for not winning my days. But then really quickly, the speed at which I was filling up my journal, like I travel everywhere with my journal. It is black right now. It's usually red. I deviated and bought a black one from Amazon. So it was covered in stickers, and I filled up rather quickly. The number of notes I took coming from the Blox was insane. And just, it's almost one of those things where, let's see, I'm going to frame this differently. So as an entrepreneur, you have, there is no accountability, right? Or to say that differently, your accountability is the results that you produce. So when you go run your metrics and you're up 20%, you're up 30%, 60%, whatever it is you're up, you feel like you're doing everything correctly. You kind of default almost into a let's keep doing this or a complacency. So I go to the Blox, I get coached by, John has a lot of different things he does, but John has a clothing line he does with Tyreek Hill. Luke has multiple businesses and exited on a business while we we're at the Blox for multi-millions of dollars. Caitlin was on tour with Miley Cyrus, I think. Like, right? These are the coaches, these are the mentors / judges. And so as you have conversations with them, and then you have conversations with people that are at the Blox, there's some people that are operating out of their, living room still. And there's people in there that have multi-million-dollar investment businesses. It's a very wide gambit. But what kind of becomes very apparent very quickly as you're talking to the people that are on the blocks, aka the other bloxers, is that they're clueless too. Not in a bad way, but they have no accountability. There is no feedback loop. That's okay. That's the best way to put this, right? So the feedback loop comes around, comes around, comes around. Like you do something and you get the feedback and you adjust. So you do something different, you get the feedback and you adjust. As an entrepreneur, it's almost an open system. There's no feedback loop because you do a thing and then like you're kind of too busy to almost measure the thing. And so as you get around the other entrepreneurs, you get around the other human beings that are in kind of a similar space to you, right? You start talking with them and you bounce an idea off of them and there's, a multitude of different personalities in there. So there's the negative guy that's like, that won't fucking work. It's not going to fucking work. You didn't do this. And all of a sudden this dude knows everything there is to know about franchising. And you're like, whoa, okay. I shouldn't say the F word. And then somebody else comes up to you and they're like, I want to launch this consulting business. And this is my business model. This is my idea. This is how I'll get into businesses. And just for some random one-off reason, that won't work. And so you can kind of start poking holes in their stuff. And you almost start to close the open system to create the feedback loop. And you walk out with like 7 pages of fucking ideas and shit that you can go do that is actionable, that will help your business and help your business grow. So I'll kind of sum up that whole entire experience like this, and I hope I'm doing a good job communicating it with passion here, so you can feel me. But I'll sum up that entire experience like this: you come, no, do it differently. So I came out of there and then that's when my monthly meetings started with my guys, right? And so almost all my guys work for both businesses. So the monthly meeting right now is all jump off related, right? It's all inflatables. And then as we get later and later and later and later in the season, the Christmas light installation business kind of starts to get infused into that and then morphs into that. I sat in front of the group of guys and basically an entire meeting, which our meetings are usually 60 to 90 minutes. I'm long-winded, so closer to 90. I said to them, I'm not going to run our businesses like a small business anymore. I'm going to run our businesses like it's a tech company. So think of the jump off or think of Let's Get Lit like we're Uber. Okay. So all of the things that Uber needed to do in the very beginning stages of their business in order for them to grow is what I'm going to focus on. I didn't do this as soon or as aggressively as I should have. I have now done it now. I've gone back and done it now. But in the meetings, fast forward of quite a few months, I literally sat in the meeting and said, I am no longer on the schedule as a delivery driver, period. My availability is 0. I do not sit in a truck and I do not deliver bounce houses. That is what you guys do. My job is to be the CEO and run it like a tech company and do all the important things behind the scenes to give you guys opportunities to, you got to speak to what they want, right? Which is get more hours, get more money, but grow the business. And so basically, I was finally able to kind of punctuate this at our last meeting, which was last week, which I said, my job is to get you guys jobs, like hours. Your job is to go be fucking excellent, the most elite that you can possibly be with the clients. I am now out of the client business. I am turning the client relation business over to you guys. You then go do the excellent job. And my guys absolutely crush this, but you guys go do the excellent job that you normally do with clients and repeat business. Okay. My job is new business. My job is market share. My job is to take over the world. Your job is to make sure that next year at next birthday party, they have no choice but to rent from us. That's kind of how it works. And so I've been able, I won't tell lies here. It did take about a year for me to kind of fully digest everything, get it organized, get my fucking self organized, and really start ticking those boxes. But now we're kind of positioning ourselves to be a powerhouse because I sit in this chair and just grind on little minute details in order to get them more opportunities to go touch more humans. And then I give them the feedback. I try to have as closed of a feedback loop as I can for them to let them know you're doing a good job. We need to adjust this. We need to adjust that. I'm seeing this. I'm sensing that. What do you guys see? And so we're now almost like a two front war where I've got the behind the scenes, they've got the front of house, and we are absolutely crushing it. And that mindset or that directive literally came about, the clarity came about from the Blox. This is exactly what I've always wanted to do, but it was a foggy, muddy little picture in my brain that I didn't know how to put it into action. Then I go to the Blox, and the fog of war kind of recedes a little bit, and I'm able to kind of start executing on some of those things. It took 12 months roughly for us to kind of or maybe for me to shore up all of the areas of weakness, and now I'm starting to reap the benefits. So then I was invited back to go to the Blox grad school. And so then I went to Blox grad school. So grad school is very, 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 very different. There's, I mean, there's one camera running around, but like not really. Like Alden's running around with the camera, just kind of getting some cool shots. It's not filmed. It is not a TV show. It was, I think, 12 of us instead of 80 of us, and you sit in a group and you go over all 17 pieces of curriculum from the Blox. You go over all of them. And so I left with 7 pages of notes from the Blox. I left with 21, coming from grad school, but it was the correct magnifying glass that I needed to kind of sense the fog of war had receded a little bit, and I felt like I could kind of start executing on some things. I just overall felt way, 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 way more focused. Then I go to the Blox grad school, and that then offers the next level of clarity to where it became very actionable, or like almost started to become bullet points on the list of things that I can go tick off, check off, and get to work on. Then it was just a no fucking brainer. I remember I was having lunch or dinner, I think, and Wes just happens to sit down next to me, and so I strike up a conversation with Wes. So we get along very well, and I asked him. I said, "Listen, I'm very interested in joining BetaBlox." So BetaBlox is the traditional startup incubator venture capitalist firm that Wes has that helps businesses grow. And you don't pay money, you pay an equity. All right. So quick little lesson on equity, which I learned this in the Blox. But if you're going to give somebody equity in the company, they don't make any money traditionally until you sell the business. And I got no interest in that pretty much ever selling this, like ever. So I said, I don't have any equity to offer you. Like I'll offer you, like, I'm cool for you to say 3% or 5% or whatever the number is, but like there's no exit in mind. So like, is there a cash product? Like, can I just pay you for this? And he was very cryptic and said, he's working on something, whatever. And then on the last day announced that there's a paid version of BetaBlox that we can just pay money. And then, so now I am now in BetaBlox. And so basically what BetaBlox is I have 2 different business coaches that I meet with every 2 months. So, and it just so happens it was yesterday, but I met with one of my coaches, Omar, yesterday. And so we have, a 60 to 90 minute a video chat, and we just kind of go through the whole business. He can poke holes in the ideas that I have. I can bring whatever to the table. It's kind of a very open, very safe space with a person that is very, 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 very much so further advanced in entrepreneurship than I am. Like all the stuff that the coaches are into is crazy. Then my other coach is Jarrett. He was at grad school. And so I'll meet with Jarrett basically in 2 months from now. And so then I switch off meeting with these coaches every 2 months. And so what basically comes out of it is, and of course, whatever you would get out of BetaBlox would be different than what I get out of BetaBlox. But what comes out of it for me is I sit there and I kind of let Omar know what I'm up to, all my ideas, everything I want to execute on, where I want to go, what I'm thinking, what I'm going to put on the back burner, what I'm putting on the front burner, something that came out of nowhere, the research I'm doing, whatever. And for me, it ends up being a lot of confirmation. So I get a lot of confirmation that I'm working on the right things. I get a lot of confirmation that I'm doing the right things. But my talk with Omar yesterday was incredible. And we were talking through a lot of things. 2 months prior with Jarrett, it was a much different conversation because I was preseason and I had different aspirations. So in 2 months, my conversation with Jarrett will be very different. But I'm kind of taking to Jarrett some of my ideas, and then he goes, okay, if you want to do that, you need to do this. And you look into this. You need to talk to this. You need a lawyer for that. Blah, 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 blah. Because he's done all the shit. He's done all the shit that I want to do. So I can talk to Jarrett and we work through this list of things that kind of come about after I tell him what my ambitions are. And then that's when, yesterday with Omar, I'm like, this is on the back burner. This is on the back burner. This is probably a 2025 initiative, Q1 2025 initiative, because I got to get this, I got to get this, I got to get this. And so it's just a very powerful thing because it closes the feedback loop, because it adds the accountability back into what I'm doing. So the best analogy I can kind of put to it is so if I kind of go back to my corporate life. So I saw my boss, probably on average once every 2 months. And so I would be out in the field working with my employees in a different city every day, basically, and working on this, working on that, working on this, working on that. And then my boss would come to town, and then we'd go to those places, we'd go to those stores where I was working on my vision. And then my boss can kind of poke holes in things, whether that's the vision's not working or the vision is working, but you're losing focus on this. This is slipping, right? They can see from 10,000 feet what I'm in, and it's like it's hard to look around and see. And so that relationship is very, very important. And so when I became an entrepreneur and started having successes, I remember kind of thinking like, if I wanted to, there was a very specific thing I wanted to do, and I was like, fuck, I don't have anybody that I can call and bounce this off of that can give me the insight from a higher level that I want, right? Because it's just kind of the nature of being an entrepreneur. Like I definitely have peers that I look up to and respect the shit out of and love to talk to, but you just need that kind of boss figure. And then that is what BetaBlox is doing for me now, to where it's like I have that conversation with Omar, and where you're like, I think I might go do this, and I think I might go do that. He's like, this yes, double down on this. Let's put that one on the back burner. And it adds this level of clarity to all the actions that I'm going to take, to where I just feel like what may have been a 5-year effort, kind of shrinks the timeline down to maybe 18 months, maybe 12 months, because you have that person that can hold you accountable. It's very powerful. So that's kind of my Blox rant there. If any of you guys are interested in joining the Blox, I highly recommend it. Yeah, let me give you some of the kind of the tactical stuff. So it is a show, so you do have to go through a casting session, right? The great thing about the casting session is that they're not looking for like nothing but excellence. It makes for a really good show, and it makes for a really good community when you have some people that are pre-launch and a little bit lost, and you have some people that are post-launch and fucking crushing it. Like it's very right. So it's not a casting process that's super intense, I guess you could say. Um, and then it does cost money, right? Because putting on an episode or a season of the Blox has got to be I don't know. I wish Wes was there so we could ask him how much it costs, but I know it's expensive, right? So it does cost you money, and then you go to the Blox, and then you're there, and then kind of like whatever you want to do with it is whatever you do with it. If you let me see if I can tell a little bit of a story here. I'll keep the names out of it so to not interfere with anybody. There was a Bloxer who was on my season who was awesome. I fucking loved her. She was great. She posted in the BetaBlox Facebook group not even that long ago that she had hired a business coach to basically do this, right? To basically do what I'm talking about. And I don't remember the number that she paid him. Whether it was 30 grand or 50 grand, I don't remember, but it was one of those two numbers. And then that's what it costs to get a business coach or to get into a startup incubator or whatever. BetaBlox is like 3 grand, maybe 5. I don't know. I mean, it was like when the curriculum was kind of I guess you could say put in front of my face, and I'd got through casting, and it came down to I got to pay the money. The dollar amount to me was like a no-brainer. I was just like, this is a no-brainer because I know how expensive these kind of curriculums are to get into. So it was a no-brainer. I paid cash. Boom, boom, send a check or whatever the fuck I did. I don't remember. But I paid cash because I was like, this is a steal of a deal. Like, even if I go and it's subpar, it's still so cheap, like, that it's a steal. So that's kind of how the Blox works. And then you go there, and like you guys heard Wes talk about it, but there's some learning. It starts very late in the day. That was one of the things that struck me. It starts very late in the day. So like Wes the first class starts at like I think 11. And from basically 11 to 12, I think, is when roughly Wes is teaching the class. And then you take a break and eat lunch. And then after lunch is over, you sit around you all kind of get up in the stands if you go to Omaha, you're like in a theater, but where I was at the Grid. So we were up on like some bleacher type things. And then you're given the challenge of the day, and you're broken out into pods, and then you got to go stand in front of 10 people and give your pitch on whatever Wes taught today. And you're graded and you're scored, and you don't know your score. And then, so one by one you go, and then you go back up for a one-on-one consultation in front of the whole group, and you talk to your judge, and you talk through whatever it is that you're working on that is in that piece of the curriculum. And you're scored on that too. And then a winner is picked. And then if you won your pod, you have to go in front of all 70 to 100 people with spotlights, literally spotlights on you. And you're put on the spot, and you've got to give like a 3-minute, mini speech, so to speak, on something that you learned today. And you kind of got to almost, no, that's the wrong word. You've got to use the knowledge that you got today to show that you learned it, and you've got to do it in a way the way you can win. It's because it's judged, and it's a format that lends itself to such insane retention because you're freaking the fuck out. You have this anxiety and you're nervous, and you're like sitting in the stands. I might have won my pod, so I might get called up there today. So you're like reviewing your notes while while Wes is talking, because you're trying to get ready for the Blox off if you won it. And so you end up retaining so much information, and just your brain is just coming up with new ideas and new angles. It's really special, man. It's really amazing. It's really amazing. Do you guys have any questions? If you guys have questions, pop them in the chat. We've been going for an hour and 22 minutes, and I've been solo for about 22 minutes of it. So big shout out to Wes. I was very, very happy. I was when I was at the Blox, I didn't ask him to come on the show because I was kind of like, no, it's too cliche, and I didn't feel like my format was I didn't have this thing dialed. And then once I switched the format to this, right, using this platform, going live with the guests, I was like, this is what was in my brain the whole time. So then that's when I invited him on. And so I invited him on like 2 months ago, and today was the earliest date that we had. So it was awesome. So shout out to Wes. Let's see. Oh yes. So Justin said 15K on their website for BetaBlox. So BetaBlox is like the traditional, like the third thing that I'm in. Like I kind of think about it like the way I was conversating with Wes prior to this interview was I was using the word curriculum. Like I think it's important that you go through step 1, step 2, step 3. And so I hope I'm not over speaking here, but so basically for BetaBlox, for us to get into BetaBlox as already Bloxers, it was a much better proposition than $15,000. So it was $5,000 up front. So you got to pay $5,000 to get into BetaBlox. Then you get 2 years of coaching. So you get 24 different consultations with your 2 coaches over the course of 2 years, every 2 months. And you do not owe another cent of money until you do $1 million rolling. So once you enter BetaBlox, the clock starts. And then once you've done $1 million in revenue, the rest of the bill is owed. So the rest of the bill is $10,000 or 1% of the $1 million in revenue that you did. So basically what I did was I paid my upfront money. I got in, and then like I didn't even hesitate. I'd been home for like 2 or 3 days, and then I sent an email either to Wes or to Cassie. I don't remember who, but I was like, in BetaBlox, like, let's go. And so then I pay my 5,000. And then now what I do is I just siphon a little bit of money off of the revenue, and it goes into a savings account. And I'm just building up the savings account to get it to $10,000. Because once I hit my million, then I owe my 10K. So I'm able to kind of just put it into a savings account and get it ready. I'm way ahead of schedule because that's just kind of my personality. So I'll have the 10K probably in the savings account probably by July or August, and then it'll just sit in that account. If I'm ambitious enough, maybe hopefully I can figure out some sort of investment pattern based on when I'll hit my million. But then when I hit $1 million, then I got to fork over the rest of the 10K. So the way I've structured it for myself is I'm kind of paying as I go, so to speak. Yeah. So it probably says something like that on the site. It's a very confusing payment plan. Here we go. Kevin's jumping in. High yield savings account. That's what I was thinking. I think I'm gonna get to 10, and then figure out if I can maybe buy some CDs or whatever the better investment version is for now. I just got to make sure, like, but like true transparency, like Wes is really fucking cool and laid back about it, right? So if and when I get to 10K and put it into a CD or some sort of other investment, I'm just literally going to email and be like, okay, I got my money. It's in a CD. It will be available on this date. So if I hit my million prior to that, like, are we cool or no? Like, right? Because I can come up with the 10K another way, but because I know the CD is going to end. So, and Wes is very, he's just he's invested in my success. So he wants to do everything he can to make sure I succeed. So it's not some high pressure like thing. And as charismatic and funny and smart and driven and great of a business person as Wes is, he tends to actually not be a very good salesman because which I respect. I think of it as a very redeeming quality because I don't think he wants the money. I think he wants me in the program or you in the program more than he wants the money. There just needs to be money because you got to compensate these you got to pay the coaches, right? Like I have a 1 hour to 90-minute call every 2 months with somebody that person needs to be compensated. So that's the upfront. Let's see. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to answer this or not, Fred, but Fred said lots of people have tried franchises for Christmas lights, and he's not interested in that model. But what about licensing model? Would it work for Christmas lights? So yeah, that's kind of what I'm up to. And so basically what I want to do is, because once you have that playbook, the licensee also has access to me, right? So I can say, here's the playbook, all the shit you need to do, and a very easily digestible way, step by step, so to speak, of how you do that. Oh, by the way, I'm at your disposal at any given time because I am here to help coach you. And then there is some sort of fee. So basically, what you'll want to do is set up your licensing where, and the advice that I've gotten is to make sure to talk to a franchise lawyer to where I can make sure that I'm not accidentally setting up a franchise and setting myself up for litigation. But you set it up to where they license the brand from you, and that costs X percent of the revenue. And then for access to the playbook, it costs X, probably X tens of thousands of dollars, whether you want to charge 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, kind of just depends on how well you think your playbook is kind of formulated, I guess. And so the barrier of entry is the investment, because obviously they have to invest in a lot of things to start their business, but you're giving them a leg up with the playbook. And once you give them the playbook, you can't take the playbook back. Like, once the information is in their hands, it's in their hands forever. And they basically have all the SOPs of how to grow the company. So you charge an upfront fee for the playbook. And then once they have the playbook in their hands, it's just a percentage of revenue that you charge yearly. You got to figure out all the ways to monitor this, or to keep this true. And then they have access to you so they can grow their business. And so then, I mean, just think about it. If you have somebody, or no, let me do this differently. So let's say, I'm going to use myself as an example. I'll use myself as an example. So let's say I want to start up a mini golf. Okay. So this mobile, rentable, portable mini golf thing is catching a lot of traction in the party rental industry. And so if I want to go launch golf, okay, if I want to go launch that, me being as busy as I am with as many businesses as I have, and then the online stuff that I do, the podcasts, I had to do 2 podcasts a week, really supposed to be doing 3. I've got a YouTube channel. I'm trying to shoot videos, right? I'm really busy. So if somebody has the exact playbook for golf and the branding all done, the logo all done, like everything's all done, instead of me bootstrapping it and growing it organically, which is very doable, but instead, if it costs me $20,000 or maybe $10,000 to do a licensing agreement with somebody that has a successful mini golf rental business already going, that $20,000 basically gets me like 1 to 3 years, depending on how good of an entrepreneur, a 1 to 3 year jump start. So it costs you 20 grand or 10 grand, but you can basically start operating from day one. You got to go buy all the stuff, and all your startup costs are the same. However, you have the playbook, so you know what to do on day one, and you can basically start executing ads. You can start doing customer acquisition. Like, you can start going after money on day one. There's no crazy launch period because you have the licensed materials at your disposal. So I wouldn't go launch the jump off mini golf rental. I would go launch whatever your mini golf rental is called, because you're the person I'm the licensee and you're the person selling it to me. So I would launch your brand here in Covington and start doing your brand of licensed golf rental. But I can just start generating revenue from day one. So year one, I don't know the financials of mini golf, but year one, let's just say if I go bootstrap it, I'm going to do, $5 grand, because I'm figuring shit out and I've got to get the website. You got to do all this stuff. If I just go pay the 20 grand, year one, I can do 100 grand. I can just go do 100 grand year one. And then I got to forfeit 5, 8, 10, 12% of that revenue on top of the buy-in. But then the buy-in is a one-time expense. And so after that, I can just continue to follow the playbook and just, right, next year, you should be able to, if you're a good entrepreneur, you should be able to duplicate, double year 2 what you did year 1. So then next year I can go do $200,000 just for the revenue fee. I already have the playbook. And so now in year 2, I'm doing $200,000 instead of year 1's 5, year 2's 25, year 3's 75, year 4's 125. I can just boom, get that jump start and go straight to 100, straight to 200. And then from there, it is my vehicle to drive. And the scale depends upon how aggressive I am, but it gives you a head start. Yes, franchising laws are nuts. When I first launched my YouTube channel, I started getting people messaging me, both people that I knew and strangers, if they could start to jump off in. I had one ask in Tampa. I had one that asked somewhere in the Midwest. I don't remember. And I had one other one. And these people were serious. They really wanted to open the jump off where they were at, and I was in no way, shape, or form ready to do that. But just kind of as an exercise, I reached out to a very successful local entrepreneur that has insane success with some franchises in the real estate industry. I reached out to him. He put me into contact with his franchise lawyer, and in order to get the FDD, the franchise document, franchise, I don't remember what it's called now, but in order to get the franchise document written, was he said mine was pretty easy, so it's probably 20K, but he's written some that were 50 and 60K for one document to a lawyer to write the FDD was 50K because they could charge that much because when you sell it, you're going to go sell it for 50K X number of times, right? So they can charge that much. But that was kind of the wake up call where I was like, oh yeah, the franchise thing is probably not the way to go. Yeah, so they would pay, yes, basically a commission. So, the number that I've done a little bit of research online. Research is probably a too aggressive of a word, but 7% ends up kind of being the number that you pay of your revenue back to the originator of the brand. So, and so I mean, I'm literally testing this right now. Like I have a test of this going on right now in a city about an hour away. And basically the whole sales pitch of that was I don't have a playbook. The playbook lives up here, but you have full access to it. And it's an internal employee that the playbook's in his head too. And then you get access to me, and then you get access to my resources. So my connections with inflatable manufacturers, my connections with the marketing ninja with Joe and Jana, my connections with Inflatable Office, right? All those things that so basically, if Trevor is met with friction with something with his website, if I step in, I'm in the priority lane when I reach out, so I can help him mitigate all those trouble areas quicker. And then also, we have I finally scheduled it today, but we're gonna have a weekly meeting every Monday where I can basically answer all of his questions. But then in the early stages, it's gonna be me auditing basically what he's doing and or not doing, and getting him on the right track. So that auditing process will go on in the first bit. And then once he's up and running, like he's already taking rentals and already doing okay. Once that is at full mass, then the relationship will kind of switch to where there'll be a lot of questions coming my way instead of me auditing, right? So in the beginning time, it's going to be a little bit mentally taxing on me because I'm going to have to do my research. But then once we're a year into this, like I literally he'll just sit in that chair and he'll bring all the content and I can just react, and I'm almost like a consultant. And that's really my I don't really give a fuck about money, which is a bad thing to say as an entrepreneur, but it's just the God honest truth. I'm more in this for the teaching, that mentorship, that teaching, that connection you make where you can help somebody else grow is just like I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like my purpose in life. And so the licensing thing is more me scratching my own itch rather than driving revenue. But that being said, the more revenue I drive for the family, the less my wife has to go cut hair, right? She's a salon owner. And so if I can help free my wife up, it's interesting to me because it's all so selfless in order to be selfish. The less my wife has to work, the more I get to go play entrepreneur. And so I'm like, if I can drive revenue into the family, it allows me to go do what I love at a higher scale. And then I also get to go do what I love, which is teaching. And so those two components have a selflessness to them that is actually hidden, which is very selfish. It's kind of funny. So, all right. That was awesome. You guys are great. So I'm gonna do one more shout out to Popcandy. I'm gonna drink my white one. I'm drinking the snow cone one. I'm drinking the snow cone one. And Kevin, the formula is pretty perfect, bro, because it's not very sweet and it's not carbonated. It's such a weird drink to drink because it's not carbonated. So shout out to Kevin and all the crew over at Popcandy for sending this over. The branding on this is fucking badass. This is the case that showed up. Shout out to Wes for coming on. Shout out to all the Bloxers out there that watched. I reached out to the Bloxers and asked them if they wanted to come on Booze and Biz, and the response was overwhelmingly yes from a lot of people. So I'm kind of flirting with doing my third show that I don't do very often. Is a lot of fun. But I'm kind of flirting with actually just doing like a general entrepreneurship show that has it would almost be more like this show, right? We didn't really talk about anything to do with Christmas lights or anything to do with inflatables, but like if I can have on somebody that like Adam owns a payment processing business, or like a lot of the people in there do things. I had a quick chat the other day with Angela, who does consulting for branding, like branding and websites and that kind of stuff. That's also what Kevin does. So if I can bring them on, I really think it would bring a lot of value. So I'm kind of flirting with doing just a general entrepreneurship show that would be heavily reliant on Bloxers. That is something that I think I got the blessing from Wes. I'm not sure. I was emailing with him about it. I did not get a definite yes or definite no because I didn't ask a definite question. But I think he was down with it. So I may start kind of rebrand that third show that I do. That's usually called Just Ask Nick. I may rebrand that and do some general entrepreneurship stuff. So stay tuned for that. Yeah. So so Nikki says, love the idea of general business show. Yeah. So the more I was kind of thinking about it, and I may not need to start a third show. I may be able to just do that on Booze and Biz, right? I don't think we need to have an industry person on Booze and Biz every single week, because the comments that were, and I think the lessons that, or the content that Wes was bringing to the show right now has no industry biases at all, or no industry connections at all, but it was all very entertaining, I hope, and very educational. So I may just be able to bring everybody on Booze and Biz and just keep the two shows, but I don't know. We'll see. But I just accidentally started a bounce house business and accidentally started a Christmas light installation business that took off, right? So my true passion is business and entrepreneurship. I just so happen to be a bounce house entrepreneur and a Christmas light installer. Like, it just kind of is who I am by accident. So I like to scratch my own itch with talking about some business. So all right, cool. This is all good feedback. Kevin said he likes hearing things that aren't just inflatable related. Yeah, that's super cool. So I'm working on. So I am definitely going to have Adam on. If you guys want to check out, at his business is called Rate Tracker, and he is literally a payment. Not only is he a payment processing company, but he's like a nerd about like the level of knowledge that he has about payment processing is unbelievable. And then the passion he has about it is equally unbelievable. So I'm working on getting him out on Booze and Biz. He is, and I respect the shit out of this, but he's very regimented in his schedule, and he has a very big block of time scheduled every single day for family. So I cannot have him on on Booze and Biz at 5 p.m. So I think I peer pressured him into coming on at 4 p.m. So there'll probably be an episode of Booze and Biz coming up here in the next couple of weeks with Adam, where we're going to be on at 4 p.m. instead of 5 p.m. It'll probably be a pretty tight show like tonight, because I believe his family time starts at 5, if I remember correctly. But his payment processing knowledge is insane. I did have him on my YouTube channel. There is a highly underrated video with Adam and I talking about payment processing over on my YouTube channel. So if you just go to my YouTube channel, scroll way down, you'll see it. Or you can search probably Rate Tracker on my channel and see it. It was a great conversation. And then we kind of got off into the weeds, because Adam's just an all-around general badass entrepreneur. Like, he's just very good with people and very good how he structures everything. He's just smart and driven. So we ended up talking about company culture and hiring and interviewing and all sorts of badass stuff. So it's a very underappreciated video on my YouTube channel. So go check that out if you guys want to see Adam. We'll have him on in a couple weeks, and then yeah, we'll do some more. I was always scared to do general entrepreneurship because I didn't know if it would, I didn't know if it would land very well. So I tried to stay very niched. Maybe I'm wrong in that. So we'll see. Either way, if you guys are watching on YouTube, like the video if you liked the video, and hit subscribe. If you guys are on the podcast, definitely hit subscribe. I'm putting out anywhere between 1 to 4 podcasts a week on my podcast. It's available every fucking place you could ever listen to podcasts. So subscribe to it. I really want to grow that version of my my content. So please subscribe. And then you guys have a wonderful evening. I'm going to finish my Popcandy and get on out of here. So you guys have a wonderful Thursday evening. And I hope your Easter weekend is very busy. I know ours is. And that's it. Peace out. Love you.